Welcome to the Nike Hoop Summit in Portland, Oregon at the Rose Garden, home of the Trailblazers. It's the top high school seniors in the United States taking on the top players 19 and under from around the rest of the world. And we welcome you courtside. Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Davis with Fran Fraschilla, college basketball analyst that doubles as the international expert for ESPN, and Paul Biancardi is ESPN's national director of recruiting. So this is an all-star game, no doubt, but that doesn't mean there's nothing at stake for these guys.
Well, you're exactly right, Joe. In fact, although this is the last time these kids will represent the U.S. in high school, keep in mind, Jerry Colangelo 8 years ago built a true national team program. Guys like Aaron Gordon, Jabari Parker, they've been with this program since they were 15. I'm not sure it's the last time those guys will wear USA across their chest.
Yeah, the USA roster is laced with talent. They have 7 of the top 9 in the ESPN 100. To regain the title, though, they have to play with passion, Fran. They have to feel the pressure to win to come out on top.
How about this matchup today? The top 2 recruits in this class going head-to-head as we look at our one-on-one.
Well, Andrew Wiggins, the #1 player in ESPN's class of 13. He's got experience here at the Hoop Summit. Last year, he led the world to an 84-75 win with 20 points.
Jabari Parker, the nation's #2 player for the USA team. His game is built on versatility and advanced skill. You know, some guys, they play the game. Jabari Parker, he tries to win the game, and that's what makes him special. He's headed to Duke.
Now, Parker really shot it well in the scrimmage last night. We look now at our starting lineups. First off with the World Squad, coached by Roy Randle, now in his 3rd season coaching this team. Dennis Schroder has declared for the NBA draft. So is Sergei Karasev. Schroder out of Germany, Karasev from Russia. John Charles and Jayate both out of France, rounding out the world starting lineup. And for the United States, coached by Mike Jones, his 1st season coaching this group. Casey Hill headed to Florida next season. Andrew Harrison and Julius Randle, both part of that highly touted Kentucky recruiting class. And Aaron Gordon, the highlight reel dunker, considered the top recruit out west regardless of class. He'll play at Arizona next season. 16th all-time matchup between the world and USA at the Nike Hoop Summit. U.S. is 11-4. World with a 9-point lead, or a 9-point win in last season's game. One of just 4 wins all time for the World squad, and off we go.
Keep in mind, last year the world got out to a 10-0 start, and that's not going to happen this year.
That's Aaron Gordon headed to Arizona.
As nice as that was, the defense is going to set the tone for the USA team. They need to guard, rebound, and run.
Here's Andrew Wiggins, #1 recruit in this 2013 class, getting fouled by Andrew Harrison. First of the game. Wiggins, the only guy in the ESPN 100 not declared at this point. Florida State, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, the list.
And I think that pressure weighs on his mind. It slowed down his play at times, Fran. I wonder if that's going to affect him tonight, because the questions do not stop. When are you committing and where are you going?
Well, he's played well in this game, and I'm sure he's going to be excited about competing against guys he knows well. This guy's first time we've seen him on the continent. Outstanding player out of Russia, Sergei Karasev.
He's one of the guys, I got to think, Fran, that has boosted his stock the most this week.
Well, he plays, as you see, Roy Randle, the coach at the coach of the Canadian team. Now that he's coaching at Ryerson in Toronto. Karasev is a guy that already plays at a high level in Europe and is already a very productive player.
Dennis Schroder for 3, another guy that's boosted his stock in this week of practice. He's out of Germany.
He's a guy that that U.S. is going to have to contend with, Paul, that quickness and length. Some people compare him to Rajon Rondo.
Here's Julius Randle, Kentucky commit. His first shot rattles out. Most physically imposing player in this class on the second try gets his first bucket.
And Randle, 13 in the blue, headed to Kentucky. He can be relentless on the offensive glass. Let's see if he can do that on the defensive glass, Fran.
Livio John Charles flew in and got bumped on the follow attempt. Head coach for the U.S. squad is Mike Jones. He was an assistant last year. He's head coach at DeMatha in D.C. in the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference. Paul, you're quick to say the best conference in all of high school basketball, or one of them?
Absolutely one of the best leagues in all of high school basketball. You're talking about Bishop O'Connell, Paul VI. Some great teams. Gonzaga High School, coached by Steve Turner.
And this guy produced Victor Oladipo, Jerrion Grant of Notre Dame. Mike Jones has been around a while.
James Robinson in Pittsburgh, too. Some great players come out of DeMatha.
You just saw Aaron Gordon swat the ball off of the cylinder, and that's a difference in the international rules.
Exactly, and that's a guy that's played a lot of international basketball already. We mentioned he's been part of this program since the development training camp when he was 15. He's played on the under-17 team.
Harrison left the 3 short. Here comes Andrew Harrison, the nation's #1 point guard. He's committed to Kentucky, and so is Randle. He got fouled trying to throw it down.
I've had a chance to watch this guy since 5th grade, and back when he was only about 6'2", Paul.
One word, powerful at the rim.
Well, what I like about Julius Randle, and there's things he's got to work on, but every time I've seen him, he brings great effort and energy to the game. I would like to see him play in the lane more and be more of a Zach Randolph rather than a Lamar Odom, but I love his energy and I love his athleticism.
You're exactly right. He has to stay inside the gates of
Yeah.
the free throw line down. He can dominate the game, and at the college level, he will demand double teams if he stays there.
Schroder drew the defense and kicked for a Karasev 3 that wouldn't go. And then John Charles had it knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with the World.
Now, Schroder has already announced that he's declared for the NBA draft. The difference with international players is, unlike the USA guys who have until the end of this month, they have up until 10 days before the draft on the 27th of June to pull their name out.
There's Wiggins, where he's so good in that mid-range game. Follow went. And World with a 2-bucket lead.
Andrew Wiggins, he's best in the lane and at the free throw line. You know where he's going to be, Fran, but you still can't stop him.
That's right. A little full court pressure right there. Back to, is that a zone? Remember, the World has been together since Monday. They've had a bunch of practices.
How big of a difference does that make?
Well, I think it does. There's no question. There's a little bit extra effort that cost USA a basket.
Stays on this end of the floor, and then the U.S. had some issues with kids with the bad weather midweek getting in their first practice.
Yeah. And I
6 guys.
And I felt this way, Paul, about the USA team. You've seen these guys forever. This is an all-star team, but they have to play as a team, even though they haven't had the practice time.
There's no question about it. Chemistry will be as important as talent to win this one game.
Here's Jean Charles. Good start to the game for him. Schroder with the assist.
Schroeder's a guy that's going to make a decision as to whether to stay in this draft in large part based on how he plays today. He's been very impressive with NBA scouts.
Here's a backdoor lob for Randle, who couldn't stuff it down. Here comes the World. Here's Jayate with the left hand, couldn't get it to go. Wiggins' follow wouldn't go either. And last touch by the U.S. squad.
A lot of blue short shots just looking around right now. They got to block out and get to the glass.
So team timeout, a few minutes into this first quarter. The World on a 6-0 run with a 6-point lead. Now the World squad trying to make it back-to-back wins in the Nike Hoop Summit for the first time in this event. And a good start for a couple of international players. Jean Charles off of the feed from Dennis Schroder, who's been very impressive, not just in the first 2 minutes of this game, but really all week long.
Yes, he has. And I think for Team USA, their goal is going to be to try to keep Schroder out of the paint. He's a 19-year-old, plays at a good level in the German league. Much improved. We saw him improve his shot over the course of this week, and NBA teams are taking a hard look at him as sort of a mid-first round pick.
It's key for him. Can he duplicate what he did in practice this week? He has the stage with all the NBA scouts here, and they like him.
Yep.
Here's Jayate with the defense from Gordon. It's over to USA. Well, there are some rules differences, especially for the U.S. kids who are used to playing, obviously, in the United States at the high school level, but 4 10-minute quarters. The three-point line, one of the biggest and most important differences in this game. 2 feet deeper than high school, 1.5 feet deeper than the college arc.
It's going to be interesting, too, because the USA, I think Paul would agree, that they don't have a lot of outside shooting on this roster.
It's Aaron Harrison and Jabari Parker, the best three-point shooters on this team.
Livio Jean Charles now with 6 to lead the way for the World.
Sorry, Joe, that's the weakness of this team when you look at the roster.
Yep.
Here's Jabari Parker, the #1 prospect on this U.S. squad. He's 0 of 2 from the field. Out of Chicago, headed to Duke next season. Schroder got bumped. 4th foul on the U.S. in this first quarter.
Casey Hill, he's got a chance next year with some graduation at Florida. He's got Scotty Wilbekin back, but I was impressed with him last week, Paul, at the Jordan Classic, and he's going to fit right into that Billy Donovan style, I think.
And he teams up with Chris Walker, 6'11", long athletic, who really had a coming-out party at the Jordan Brand Classic. He played really well.
Yeah, and how about the guys they've got sitting out next year? Dorian Finney-Smith and DeMontre Harris, and Wilbekin's back, Patrick Young.
Michael Frazier this year. Nice team.
Michael Frazier's going to get a chance to play some USA basketball this summer, I believe.
A couple of substitutions for the World squad as Dante Exum checks into the game. He's out of Australia. And so does Carl Towns, who's from New Jersey but roots in the Dominican. He's had a great week as well, 15 in gray. And plays defense on Andrew Harrison, who draws the bump and will shoot 2.
That's his game, Andrew Harrison. Wants to get a piece of the paint, create some contact, go up in the air, score, or find his teammates.
So Andrew Harrison, the nation's #1 point guard, number 5 overall in the ESPN 100. Part of what is considered the greatest recruiting class of all time headed to Kentucky.
And he's really hard for him to keep out of the lane. It's not speed and quickness, it's size and strength.
Exactly. He's got, you know, I've always thought he's got a Darren Williams type of frame, you know, a big point guard. I think the key for him is, especially at the NBA level someday, it's going to be, oh, look at that athleticism.
How about that athleticism at the rim? Wiggins and Randle meet right at the edge of the rim, and a foul on Randle. 2 shots.
It was like an earthquake.
Yeah, Paul and I have both seen Andrew Wiggins get his head on the rim. Take a look now. That's unbelievable athleticism right there.
It's power and explosion at the rim.
All right, so again, Florida State, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, the list of schools for the only undecided player in the ESPN 100. Kentucky came to visit him a couple of weeks ago. He's got visits from the other 3 lined up as far as those staffs coming in to see him all next week.
Yeah, and you know the interesting thing about Wiggins is he's part of this explosion of Canadian talent now in the NCAA. They had 90 players from Canada last year playing D1. And Jay Triano, the Canadian national team coach, is here today. He's assistant coach of the Blazers. Very excited about their prospects, Canada.
One guy with a nice bounce. Sorry, Paul, for Parker.
One guy they need to be real excited about, Tyler Ennis.
Oh, yeah.
St. Benedict's High School. Terrific point guard, one of the best point guards in the class of 213. Headed to Syracuse to play for Jim Boeheim.
Here's Schroder. Toe is on the tape at 2. And Aaron Harrison, the twin brother of Andrew Harrison, checks in. And brings the ball up the floor for the U.S. squad. Here's Jabari Parker, the Duke commit. Into Julius Randle. And back to Andrew Harrison for 3.
That's a 2-3 zone they're playing against. You don't want to settle for outside shots. You only have 24 seconds, but you want to try to get into the paint first against the zone.
Joel Embiid, who's headed to Kansas, screens for Wiggins. His 3 off the mark, and Wiggins still looking for his first field goal. Parker.
Again, attack it inside out, move the ball around. The zone can make you sleep on offense.
Joel Embiid committed to Kansas. Really interesting story. A guy that has only played organized basketball for about 1.5 years now. He's out of Cameroon. It has wowed the scouts all week long. Here's Aaron Gordon. Randle athletic to get a finger on it. Gets his second bucket.
The scouts are drooling over Joel Embiid. They see the potential. 7 feet tall. Can score with either hand inside. Headed to play for Bill Self at Kansas. Setting the high ball screen right now.
11 in gray for the World squad as Schroder knocks down the mid-range jumper.
Dennis Schroder, just smooth and confident, utilizing ball screens, fast, quick in transition, and he loves to play defense. Number 4 in the gray.
The 24-second shot clock winds inside at 10. Andrew Harrison on the drive with the left hand.
That's impressive. He's going by an excellent defender in Schroder. Again, he doesn't beat you with the blazing speed. He doesn't turn the corner, but once he puts his shoulder and hip on you, it's going to carry you right to the rim.
Schroder kicks, Wiggins a three, and his first field goal of the game puts the world in front by 4.
Not known as a three-point shooter, Andrew Wiggins, but certainly capable of making three-point shots. He just hasn't worked on it enough because he gets to the rim so easy at the high school level.
What's that do for him if he adds that to his game?
Can't go any higher than the #1 pick. I mean, he'll enhance it, he'll dominate opponents at the next level if he can make a jump shot.
Andrew Harrison responds with a shot clock winding down.
As a big point guard, Andrew Harrison can make three-point shots. And that's what makes him so hard to defend. He can beat you into the paint, make open shots.
So Harrison tying the game with a 3, leading the way for the U.S. squad with 9. The Kentucky commit bounces for the Duke commit, 17 all.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Nike Hoop Summit is brought to you by Nike, engineered for world-class athletes.
Back in Portland, and a good one going early, tied at 17. Fran Fraschilla now stands by with the #1 player in the class of 2013. It's Andrew Wiggins.
Thanks, Joe. Andrew, you played last year in this game. 20 points. You helped the world to a win. What do you like about this game?
It's a fun way to get competition, and the fact that I get to play amongst the best in the world, and I'm on the world team against USA. Everyone knows USA is a powerhouse basketball country, so it's good going against them.
You're part of a Canadian explosion now with all these good young players playing in the NCAA. What's that mean to you to represent your country, and how good can you guys be in the future?
It means a lot to me to represent my country because I've always been through, and also just I don't know.
You looking forward to playing for Coach Triano?
Oh yeah, if I play senior team, then.
Yeah. Well, congratulations so far in your career, and we'll see you later.
All right, Fran, the #1 player in the class of 2013. He's got that list down to 4 schools. You got it memorized by now. Florida State, Kansas, UK, and UNC. Into the game for the first time now is Nikola Ivanovic. And Dante Exum gets to the rim. He's out of Australia, high school junior that plans on playing basketball in the United States and has his list out at Georgetown, Indiana, LSU, SMU, and Vanderbilt. Here is Exum. Great first step into the lane, and the defense couldn't keep up.
Exum really loves to get to the rim. When he catches it, the first thing he wants to do, 7 in the gray, is bounce it on the floor, get into the lane, and rise up and finish.
You know what a lot of people don't realize about him, because he's going to be graduating from high school in November. Of course, down under, everything's kind of flipped around. Talked to him before the game. He's thinking that wherever he goes to school, he'll not join that program until next summer, where he could actually enroll in school in December or January and start practicing. But he said he wants to stay home, work on his game before he heads to college, and he's got some great choices.
Out of the same institution that produced Luke Longley, Andrew Bogut,
Patty Mills, Matthew Dellavedova, you name them, they played at the Australian Institute of Sport.
And his dad, Cecil,
yeah,
played at UNC. So there's some bloodlines there.
Well, he plays like a, we're talking to Rich Schubert's of Nike, who's put this team together, and he plays like a kind of the gait of a young Michael Jordan.
High praise.
High praise. It's not to say that he's going to be a Jordan, but when you remember Michael in high school and then his first couple of years at Carolina, it's kind of almost ironic that his dad Cecil was on that national championship team in 1982.
A couple of subs in for the U.S. squad, including this guy, Randle Hollis-Jefferson, one of 2 McDonald's All-Americans going to Arizona next year. And with the shot clock winding down, it's Portis off the mark with his first shot. But Hollis-Jefferson there for the follow out of Chester, PA, dominant high school program.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players heading to college next year because he's so versatile, Paul. I think he's going to be a great college defender. Look at him right there. Although he's guarding Karasev.
Shows off
and he got beat off the bounce.
He did. Now, that speaks more to how good Karasev is because, as we mentioned, he plays at a very high level in Europe.
Karasev is very crafty. He's deceptively quick. He can get to the rim on 1 or 2 dribbles. Very efficient player.
Fran, you mentioned the high level that he plays at in Europe. Break it down for the folks maybe not familiar with the difference. Where is his level compared to, say, NCAA basketball?
Well, it's a great question. I always talk about it's like Major League Baseball is the NBA, and if you play at the top levels in Europe, that's like AAA. Quite frankly, Division I is AA. And he's playing against men. He's playing against guys that have played college basketball, NBA guys. So at 19, he's already very seasoned for his age, and hence the impressive week he's had so far.
Back-to-back buckets for Hollis-Jefferson, cutting it down to 2. And here's Karl Towns. He's headed to Kentucky as well, the number 5 junior in the ESPN 60.
Now talk about drooling over prospects. Karl Towns headed to Kentucky, the NBA scouts. They just can't believe his skill level at his size.
And at a size 20 feet as well.
I mean, he shoots threes, he can finish inside, runs the floor well, mobile. In fact, he worked with Del Harris a lot when he was with the Dominican national team, and Del Harris told him, if you leave the paint in this game, I'm going to come up there and knock you out. Del Harris worked with him on the post game for 3 months, and it's really made a big difference.
It's a 7-footer that developed his perimeter game before he did his post game, but he's got them both now. Through with a quarter here in Portland, and the World Squad with a 2-point lead. Some of the best talent in the country against some of the best talent from around the globe as we go to the second. Well, the final day of the X Games starts Sunday morning with medal round coverage. It's the X Games from Brazil. 6 hours of coverage tomorrow starting at 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN, and also live on Watch ESPN. Through with a quarter, world with a 2-point advantage on the USA. We've reached a time again where there's a certain pride about putting that USA uniform on again. And guys, when you look back a few years ago, that might not necessarily been the case to as great of a degree as it is now.
Yep.
How'd they change it? How'd they change the culture of USA basketball?
I think Jerry Colangelo, the managing director of USA Basketball, changed it in 2005. He hired Mike Krzyzewski. They've started programs right down to the 15, 16-year-old level. A lot of these young men, as I mentioned earlier, this is not the first time they're representing the United States. And you name it, they've tried to make sure that every young guy from high school to college, and now at the senior level, Paul, the NBA level, the Olympic level, that there is that pride in wearing this uniform. And I think it's very healthy. They're number 1 in FIBA right now among all the countries in the world. And quite frankly, we have the most talent.
And Fran, you hit it on the head. It all starts at the high school level. Now we have a developmental national team coached by Don Showalter, who's here in attendance. And he gets those guys at 16 and 17, and the ability to coach them, tryouts.
Don, a very successful high school coach in Iowa, and like many national programs, Joe, we now have somewhat of a national team system.
There's Karl Towns getting his first field goal of the game. Played for the Dominican national team as a 16-year-old last summer. With the shot clock winding down, it's Portis who's headed to Arkansas next year. And Randle Hollis-Jefferson rattles one out to Wiggins. Exum lost the ball. And Andrew Harrison out with it. Here's Portis. Had it tipped away.
I like the push, though, by Andrew Harrison. Sometimes he walks the ball up too slow. A good pace to him that time in transition.
Livio John Charles with a flyby move to score.
I've watched this young man. He played for the under-20 French national team last year. He's getting better in the French Pro League. French Pro League, not great basketball by European standards, but they've certainly put a lot of guys in the NBA in recent years.
He's made 4 of 5, leading the way for the World Squad with 9 points. Exum goes end-to-end to lay it in. Out of Australia, high school junior, very impressive this week.
I like his size and quickness. Some people see him, Paul, I don't know about you, as a combo guard, maybe not a pure point, but I know he's already visited Indiana. He's got LSU, Boise State, SMU.
And at 17, he's one of the youngest players here at the Hoop Summit. Talk about potential. You look right at him and you can see what he's going to be, Fran, in time. I believe, like you do, he's going to be a good combo guard, not a point guard.
I haven't heard Carolina's name mentioned with him, Paul. Any reason why?
He has not mentioned Carolina. Indiana, Boise State, LSU, SMU, Ohio State, Kentucky, and Louisville, he said, has made contact recently.
Karl Towns. Demetrius Jackson out with it. Here's Bobby Portis, who got slapped on the wrist. That's a foul on Towns. You're talking about Don Showalter, who's in attendance today.
Does a phenomenal job with our U16s and U17s. He holds 2 3-day tryouts, invites 30 kids in to try to pick a team of 12. And Fran, you love that. It's competition. Guys get invited They have to earn their way in. They get to play with a shot clock, 24 seconds.
Exactly. And you and I love that 24-second clock. And I think it ought to be uniform all over the world, even at the college and high school level.
We've been saying that for years.
Yep.
A universal shot clock with a universal time.
How about a shot clock at every high school to begin with? I know you're a fan of that, Paul.
Well,
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm saying let's get it in the high school game.
Yeah.
The toughest part has been cost. That's what people tell me. But, you know, in Europe, they put two 24-second clocks down on the baseline. It costs about $1,500 for two of them. And I think it would really help our game because all players at all spots have to develop their skills. Though when that clock gets down to 5 or 4 and you don't have the ball in your point guard's hands, you're 4 or you're 3, you better be able to put it on the floor and make a play.
And I know cost is a factor, but it's a one-time cost, Fran. We have 8 states in the United States that have a shot clock, so it can be done.
Is that part of the reason you see guys come out of Europe so skilled in so many different areas because of that 24-second clock?
I think there's in large part it is because the coaches have to coach creatively also. You have to get into your offense quick. You got to get good looks quickly. And as I said earlier, the kids have to be multi-dimensional players when you play with a low clock.
Jaete with a follow. He's out of France, still considering declaring for the NBA draft this week, and today going to be big in making that decision.
Well, the big thing about him was we thought he was 6'9", and when he got to Portland early in the week, he measured out at 6'11", and it opened some eyes.
Jabari Parker, the #2 senior, he's headed to Duke next season, fades and knocks it down.
He did it last night at the last scrimmage. He was making jump shots, three-point shots. He opened the eyes of the scouts to be able to shoot the ball at 6'8".
Here he is for the steal.
He's really had a great week of practice, Jabari Parker.
I love this kid as well, Paul. When you've talked to him many times, he's a quality guy. He reminds me, and I know it's easy, the Grant Hill comparison. Does everything pretty well, you know, or very well, I should say.
You just love the read. His defender goes under the screen. He steps back. He has great elevation on his jump shot. A 4-time state champion.
It's at a pretty good program. Yeah, the only freshman. How about this? You think of all the great players Simeon has had, including Derrick Rose recently, the only freshman to ever play varsity at the time he arrived and Coach Smith put him on the varsity, knew he had someone special.
And he owns 2 gold medals for USA basketball with Don Showalter, under 16
and
under 17.
I have a feeling he's going to wear that uniform again.
And again and again.
Yeah, in the future. Maybe he's fortunate enough in 2020.
Andrew Harrison off to Parker. Got into a tough spot. And John Charles came over for the rejection. Dennis Schroder so quick down the center of the lane to scoop it in.
Little rondo right there. It's funny because he came back to his right hand. If there's one chink in his armor, to me it's he doesn't have a left hand yet, but when you're that quick, sometimes you don't need a left hand.
Andrew Harrison right back at him. Will go to the line for 2 shots. 15 fouled on the world in this half. Livio John Charles called for the personal. That's his first.
I like the way, as Paul's seen many times, I like the way Andrew Harrison is attacking the lane today. That size and strength.
He's got 9 to lead the U.S.
A lot of guys get into the lane. They're afraid of contact. Andrew Harrison seeks it out. He welcomes it. And then he knows how to keep you right on his hip as he's attempting the shot. Terrific at creating fouls.
Well, you know, he's lucky because he gets to work out with NBA guys in Houston with John Lucas, who to me is one of the gurus of teaching the game right now. The former #1 pick, played at Maryland, played in the NBA, and he's been a mentor of the Harrison brothers for the last few years.
John Charles leading all scorers with 11. Livio John Charles, 6'9" forward out of France.
Plays at the same professional team that's owned by Tony Parker,
who's an alum of this event. Back in 2000, Gordon gets fouled. He'll shoot 2.
Aaron Gordon, whose brother Drew played in this game back in 2008. Talked to Aaron before the game. Drew was with the Dallas Mavericks this year after finishing a terrific couple of years in New Mexico, Joe. Started his year in Serbia, and now playing in the Italian Pro A, the top division in Italy. And Aaron said he likes Italy a lot better than he did Belgrade. Food's a little better.
Yeah. Aaron, the first two-time Mr. Basketball in California since Tyson Chandler won in 2000. And then you go back to Jason Kidd, was a two-time winner in the early 90s.
Very good company.
Here's Tomas Dimša out of Lithuania with a foul on the floor. Dimša kind of an under-the-radar guy with as many talented players as there are in the world. But draws the contact here. Jabari Parker got blocked by Livio John-Charles. Then Dennis Schroder down the lane to scoop it in. And the World with a 7-point lead. Well, the World has commanded things here in Portland right now with a 7-point lead. Midway through the second quarter. Well, Major League Baseball coverage continues on ESPN. Sunday at 8 o'clock, Carlos Beltran leads the Cardinals in to face the Phillies. Then at 7 on Monday, it's on to the AL East. Robinson Cano and the Yankees try to solve Matt Moore of the Tampa Bay Rays, who's been so good to begin 3-0 through his first 3 starts. Both those games are also live on Watch ESPN. Back inside the Rose Garden. The World trying to make it back-to-back wins over the U.S. They've never done that. Right now shooting 51% from the field, holding the U.S. to a 1 of 6 from outside.
1 of 6 from 3, which is what we talked about. That longer, almost 2.5 feet longer three-point line than the high school line that these young guys are used to. So they have not adjusted yet, but it's not their strength. Their strength is athleticism, and Mike Jones right there counseling Julius Randle, who I think is going to be an outstanding player for John Calipari.
What's his role on that loaded recruiting class and that what's going to be a loaded roster next year?
Again, he's versatile, but I think his strength is playing around the basket. And, you know, they're only going to have him for 1 year, and the key is to get him ready to win a lot of games at Kentucky, but he's going to be an NBA power forward. He is a very strong and athletic player with I like he plays with intensity. Oh, nice clear out.
Ooh, Exum tried to stump it down. It rattled out, but Exum showing great speed in the first quarter and a half of this game. Here is the aforementioned Julius Randle working inside against Embiid, who's headed to Kansas next year. Got his hand on the shot. Now Wiggins with that patented spin move. He tipped his own miss to score.
Terrific. Strong going to the rim, and you see how quick, the quick second jump. He's got as quick a second jump as you'll see.
Maybe the best since Dominique Wilkins. I know our friend Paul likes to say so.
Yeah, he likes to say that, you know. I remember with David Thompson, who had that 48-inch vertical leap, and I'm not sure Wiggins has got 48, but he's certainly over 40. Look at that quickness by Schroder.
Easily works by one of the best on-ball defenders in the U.S.
Great point, because you got Hollis-Jefferson guarding Schroder by design.
3 seconds left on the shot clock, and Dimša knocks down a 3.
They could all shoot it in Lithuania, Paul.
Tomas.
Lithuania is a country with 3 million people, size of New Jersey, basically, in terms of geographically.
We're just talking about Andrew Wiggins. We've broken down the class, or the potential landing spots for him with Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, Florida State. Of course, there's the connection with his parents. Both went to Florida State. Kentucky and Kansas and North Carolina, all storied programs where he'd have a chance to win right away. And really at this point, it doesn't appear there's any true front runners. He doesn't let on much.
Doesn't let on at all.
No.
But he's going to elevate wherever he goes. If it's Florida State, they get right back into the national scene. If it's Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, that gives them a chance, Fran, for a Final Four, because all those teams have great returning pieces. Kentucky has the #1 class in the nation. He can be a difference maker in college.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't have any problem with him waiting, because he's trying to figure out and sort out who he's going to play with and who's leaving for the NBA and who's not. And if you're the best player in the country, those 4 schools are waiting until September for you.
And he's not waiting to see who's there because he's afraid he's not going to play.
No.
He wants to play with good players because he wants a chance to win a championship.
Joel Embiid with an athletic play to get a shot off. A couple of free throws coming up for the Kansas commit. There's 8 commits for Kentucky, making it the top recruiting class of all time, and quietly Memphis with the #2 recruiting class.
Isn't that great? Josh Pastner's done another great job. Austin Nichols, who I know Tennessee, North Carolina, a lot of people liked him. Saw him at, coached him last summer at the LeBron James Skills Academy.
What'd you like about him?
I like his versatility, his inside-out ability. He's got a lot of bounce to his game, and you know, I got to go back in time and mention Bobby Jones, you know, who played at North Carolina.
Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah. Now, that's old school, but I really liked his attitude and the fact that he competed.
We saw Noah Vonleh on that list, headed to Indiana. You know, Cody Zeller leaving, Noah Vonleh coming in. Good timing for the Hoosiers.
One of the top 10 classes in the country for Indiana, reloading. Top class in the Big Ten. Now the first round of the NBA playoffs continues Sunday as Dwight Howard leads the Lakers on the road against Tony Parker and the Spurs. LA against San Antonio, with coverage tipping off with Kia NBA Countdown at 3 Sunday on ABC. You got Tony Parker, obviously an alum of the Nike Hoop Summit. 4 total alums in that game, 3 of them in the Lakers. Parker being the lone Nike Hoop Summit alum for San Antonio. That's Sunday, 3:30 on ESPN.
Well, Dirk Nowitzki was here, I believe, in maybe 97, if I remember, maybe off by a year. 98, I think, with Louis Scola, who was a tremendous player. You think of the USA guys, Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant, Kevin Love.
And this is where Tony Parker really was found. I mean, you can parlay a good performance right into the NBA.
Absolutely. Think of the really good players that have been here. Take a look. That's not a bad lineup, Paul. We could coach that lineup right there.
I'll be your assistant for that one, Fran.
Yep.
Tony Parker, you mentioned jumping out of the scene in that game. He had 20. Dirk Nowitzki had a huge game in his Nike Hoop Summit as well. Dirk dropped 33 points, pulled down 14 boards.
And you remember who broke his record, the world record, you remember?
Shabazz Muhammad last year?
Well, on the world side, it was Enes Kanter a couple of years ago.
Enes Kanter.
34.
And then how about the all-time U.S. team? You mentioned a few of these guys already, but plenty to choose from, obviously.
And Kyrie early in his career, of course. Josh Smith had a huge game in this event. So many good players, really. And 140 guys have been drafted from the Nike Hoop Summit during its existence. Pretty good.
15 last year, 15 in 2011, 6 #1 overall picks. And again, prior to this year, just 15 all-time Nike Hoop Summits, and 6 of those classes have produced a #1 pick.
It's really interesting. We remember the great Dave Gavitt, Paul, from our Big East days. And Dave Gavitt and Billy Packer, along with some input from Nike, started this event in 1995 as part of the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's moved around a few times, but Portland is ideal. They supported it well. And you know, these international kids, these world kids, they're the ones doing the traveling. They're coming not only from across the globe, but they've got to travel, all the way out here to Portland. So not an easy week, but I think they enjoyed playing in this.
Yeah, this event serves as a great preview, I think, for the incoming class to college basketball. And for the international players, this is their stage. In front of NBA scouts all over the world, they can make their mark like Tony Parker did, Enes Kanter. And it serves them well.
Out of the timeout, largest lead of the game for the world squad of 13 as Andrew Wiggins tries to go 2 for 2 in his Nike Hoop Summit experiences, and 20 to lead the way for the world a season ago. The U.S. has never dropped back-to-back games to the world in this event.
Look at this 1-3-1 zone with the 7-foot Karl Towns at the top.
It's hard to see and score over that big guy. Don't give John Calipari some ideas to play zone now.
Look out here on this 2-on-1. Towns able to finish with Hollis-Jefferson bumping him.
Nice job by Andrew Wiggins. He could have gone in and flushed this. Take a look now. Watch the run out, Paul, and a nice touch pass right back to the big fella.
But look at Karl Towns. 7 feet tall, running the floor straight rim to rim. The acrobatic ability to jump in the air, catch the ball.
You know what's interesting about him? Because he played for the Dominican, he's a Jersey guy. His dad's a high school coach there. He and his mom and dad are here today.
Yeah, Jackie, his mom's here.
But he cannot, the only negative is, maybe it's not a negative, but he can never play for Team USA the rest of his career because he's already played at the national team level as he did last year. But what a mainstay for the Dominican Republic in coming years.
Julius Randle knocks down the baseline jumper.
And that's where Randle can be really hard to guard. 6'9", 230, a mid-range jumper to go along with that power game inside, Fran.
Yep, I agree.
Wiggins with the defense from Hollis-Jefferson. A large reason he's on this roster was for that matchup to defend Wiggins. Now Randle through contact, and Hollis-Jefferson there to follow it. Well, it's been a good first half for the Arizona commit out of Chester, PA.
Yeah, Paul's seen Hollis-Jefferson more, but I've watched him for a couple of years. I just love his versatility, his toughness. You know, he's a Chester kid. It's a place that produced Jameer Nelson, Bo Ryan. Tough place, you know. It's Philly basketball, but you don't say that in Chester. It's Chester.
It's a little outside of Philly, right?
Yeah.
But Hollis-Jefferson, you know, he's comfortable in his own skin. He knows who he is.
Yep.
A four-man offensively that scores close to the basket. I like to call him a switch defender. He can cover positions 1 through 5 and be very comfortable. What a pair of defenders Sean Miller has, huh? Hollis-Jefferson, Aaron Gordon, go along with Brandon Ashley next year. And
how about Nick Johnson, the way he played?
Big man Caleb Tarczewski.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? They've got a point guard sitting now, T.J. McConnell.
Transfer from Duquesne.
Yeah. Who's an awful lot like Sean Miller used to play.
First time Arizona's ever had back-to-back years with 2 McDonald's All-Americans in the class.
Nick Batum, Blazers.
The World Squad trying to make it back-to-back wins over the USA in the Nike Hoop Summit. They've commanded much of this game. Of course, Team USA, obviously, anytime you play with the USA on front of your jersey, it's a great honor, especially right now with the stage that this USA basketball program is at. What are we looking at right here?
Well, this is a travel tag that they use for their equipment bags, and every player has his number. And on the back of this is Jabari Parker's. Every guy that's represented Team USA in the past. You see the number 12, Chris Bosh, Eric Gordon, Ray Allen, all the way back to the great Wayman Tisdale. And so what they've tried to do here in recent years is develop that pride in representing the country. And as we talked about, Paul, USA is dominating at the youth level, 16, 17, 18, gold medal last couple of times through, world championships in 210. So there is that pride that's come back, but they have to work at it. You have to teach these guys what it means to be part of a national team.
This game is so special. You know, you think about the McDonald's All-American game, 25 players. Okay, the Jordan Brand Classic, 22. For this one, it's 10, and you have to make your mark on this team. Everything is important that you do when you play for USA basketball.
Sergei Karasev off of the inbounds play. It was contested by Casey Hill, who's one of the fastest players in the country with the ball in his hands. And he feeds Gordon, who scoops it in.
That's what USA needs, is some easy baskets. He's the best.
Yeah, that's a great point.
On this team, in terms of pushing the ball with speed, he's a creator, Casey Hill.
Pretty good finisher, too, in Aaron Gordon, right?
Got the creator to the finisher.
Dennis Schroder with a mismatch, took advantage but couldn't finish, and then somehow is punched up and in.
Carl Towns Jr. raised his hand quickly. He's a smart guy. Want to make sure that the scorer knows that. Look at that block.
Hill got into the crowd, and Towns got called for the foul.
Paul's watched Casey Hill in that blinding speed many times, and I just love Aaron Gordon. I know he's been compared to, you know, a little smaller version of Blake Griffin, but young man, as you mentioned, is going to be a factor next year down in the desert.
Foul actually went on Schroder, his second. And Casey Hill at the stripe. Florida commit. Number 9 overall player in the country is the number 2 point guard. And 3 of the top 4 point guards are on this U.S. roster.
When you're talking about straight line, end-to-end speed, Casey Hill has it. The ability to draw 2 defenders, find the open man. Fran, it's priceless as a head coach, because you can teach guys how to pass, but you can't teach guys how to make a pass.
Oh, I agree. I'll tell you the guy I love on that list is Nigel Williams-Goss. What a playmaker and leader he's going to be.
Big-time winner going to Washington for Lorenzo Romar.
Remember, he almost ended up with Tommy Amaker at Harvard.
Here's Hill in transition again.
And Hill has added that to his game, that floater. He just didn't make it, but he's been making it all week in practice.
Towns just threw a bullet into the first
That was
row.
a fastball, folks.
That's 7 feet tall. Young man who had a terrific season as a, what is he, a sophomore going to be a junior? Or is he going to get reclassified?
No, he's in the junior class right
He's
now.
going to get reclassified.
As a freshman, Fran, 68 threes he made in high school. This guy can shoot it. He's an outside first, inside second, 7-footer.
I don't know if he's the best shooter ever come out of St. Joe's in the touching, because Jay Williams was pretty good, but that's not bad for 7 feet.
And his three-point shooting has went down in the last couple of years, and especially after working with Del Harris. But his inside production has went up because Del has done such a fabulous job of teaching him the nuances of low post play at 7 feet tall.
I got a chance to see them last summer in Las Vegas. Coach Cal and Del Harris and Orlando Antigua. Really good group. That was a great experience for this young man because he's playing against Kobe and LeBron and Durant. And he got about 9 or 10 minutes in the game, and everybody was looking around going, who's that guy? He's what? He's 16? You know? But good experience.
And it worked out pretty good for Coach Calipari. He got a verbal commitment from a 7-footer.
Yes, he did.
Who's going to be tremendous. I mean, you hate to say he's going to be a one and done, but the way it looks right now, he's going to be a one and done in college.
I'd like to see him get a little bit more athletic. I think he's got to lose some of that baby fat. There's certainly things he's got to work on, sometimes you don't want to be that size and fall in love too much with the jump shot. But we were watching him make step backs the other day from behind the line. Very impressive. You know, it's interesting. These guys are all terrific in their age group. And we do overhype them in terms of talking about the NBA level. But you look at last year's first round, there's only 5 or 6 rookies that are really making an impact. So while we like these guys for their potential, not every guy out here is going to end up an NBA star or even in the NBA. But they're off to a good start at this level.
Final minute of this first half. The world is controlled most of the way, leading by as many as 13. Jabari Parker with a long 2.
Love the flare screen by Aaron Gordon. That was Mike Jones from the bench. Great set play against the zone to get a good shot off.
They practice this press. Look at this. That's Karasev's look.
Shot clock turned off.
It's a big basket.
Hill off to Parker. One possession after the jump shot shows the explosion.
Tell you what, guys, great comeback here at the end of the first half by Team USA.
And then Wiggins got fouled shooting the 3 at the horn.
That finish by Jabari Parker. You know, he doesn't look athletic, but deceptively he is athletic, Fran.
Yeah.
You can see the quick bounce up to the rim. The strong finish by Jabari Parker. Again, Casey Hill surveying the floor, reading the defense. Parker, one step, no dribble, easy flush.
Tell you what, that was an inopportune foul right there by Team USA, who had been down double digits and fought back to within 6, and now Andrew Wiggins going to get a chance to make 3.
Foul went on Aaron Gordon. That's Gordon's 3rd foul. Wiggins now with 9. Had 20 a season ago to lead the world squad in a 9-point win over the U.S.
Big baskets right there. That gives him a little more momentum going back into the locker room.
And it puts Wiggins into double figures. So a 9-point lead for the world squad as we go to halftime at the 16th Nike Hoop Summit. We'll be back here to Portland on the other side of this break. Back in Portland at halftime, where the world squad's got a 9-point lead on USA, trying to make it back-to-back wins for the first time in the 16-year history of this event. We welcome you now back inside the Rose Garden. Joe Davis with Fran Fraschilla, Paul Biancardi. Guys, we've talked plenty about this Kentucky recruiting class, which is hands down the greatest in the history of college basketball. You really can't argue it.
I don't know. I mean, I guess by rankings, but you know, Michigan '91 was pretty good with Jalen Rose, Howard, and Chris Webber. But I think on paper and depth, Paul, you got to say that right now Kentucky coming in is a great class.
There's no question. They have the most talent, and the quality and quantity is there. Now, talk about who's going to start for Kentucky. I think it's going to be the Harrisons, and then Alex Poitras, who has some experience, already playing for Calipari, Julius Randle at the power forward, and I like Willie Cauley-Stein. That's a heck of a starting 5.
It's a great group. I think Coach Cal's done a great job of being able to manage talent in the past. This year they didn't have enough depth, But you look at Kyle Wiltshire coming back next year, Poitras, Willie Cauley-Stein, to go with these guys certainly puts him in a great spot.
Yeah, last year he had to coach passion and heart. Next year he has to coach teamwork and chemistry because he's going to have a lot of egos, a lot of talent, but a lot of good problems.
Now, you hit on the starting lineup for a moment there. You mean to tell me that Dakari Johnson, the nation's #1 center, is going to be coming off of the bench next year for Coach Cal?
I really believe so because Willie Cauley-Stein has proven already in John Calipari's system. He has 1 year under his belt. Dakari Johnson, he's tremendous, but you bring him off the bench if you're John Calipari, you got great size, and you also have Marcus Lee, the shot blocker. I like Poitras at the 3 spot with Randle at the 4, Cauley-Stein at the 5. You have to play the Harrisons. You have nobody else that can play a point guard or a shooting guard.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've talked to NBA scouts this week. They've told me there's 1 or 2 guys on that Kentucky roster who may not start and still get drafted in the first round. So with the fact that they have so much talent, you mentioned this week, Paul, Andrew Harrison is going to have a lot of pressure on him to be the kind of point guard that John Calipari's had at Memphis and Kentucky. When you think of the Derrick Roses, guys like that, a lot of pressure on him.
He's got to work through some body language issues, too. Sometimes he gets down on himself. But what I love about this class more than anything, the ability to shoot the basketball. Both Harrisons can make threes, and James Young can stroke it from the outside. Best group of shooters for John Calipari.
James Young, we just mentioned him.
In a long time. He's coming off the bench, so too much talent in Kentucky next year.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll revisit this renaissance of sorts with USA basketball. Right now, they trail the world squad at halftime. Back to Portland after this. The world squad led by as many as 13 during the first half of this Nike Hoop Summit. And they lead as we start the second half of action, 52-43, back inside the Rose Garden in Portland, Oregon. And we take a look at our first half highlights from this 16th Nike Hoop Summit. Livio Jean-Charles from France was very impressive.
Yeah, he was, and he played off his good passing guards. Young man that plays at Villeurbanne. I don't know if I said that right, but an outstanding prospect. He's 19 years old. Strong inside player, having a very good first half. This is a guy that actually played with Tony Parker during the NBA lockout. Tony went back and played for the team that he actually owns.
And Andrew Harrison on the other side leading the U.S. with 11.
Well, he's been able to get into the paint, and that's what he does best. Makes a bucket in the lane. You see the baseline drive, the dime to Jabari Parker. The ability to score and find with size and strength make Andrew Harrison the #1 point guard in the nation.
First half stats. 2 of 8 from behind the arc for the U.S. But the world squad we thought would have a great advantage shooting the ball. Not much better from outside.
No, you're right. And we also thought they had the size advantage inside. You can see 24-18 on the boards. And good comeback, I thought, Paul, at the end of the first half until that Aaron Gordon foul of Andrew Wiggins.
It seemed to deflate all the momentum that the USA team had.
A 6-rebound advantage you mentioned there for the world squad. They out-rebounded the U.S. by 23. The world squad victory last year. Livio Jean-Charles, Andrew Wiggins, Schroder, Towns trying to lead this world squad to the first ever back-to-back wins. And yes, an all-star game, but a game where the outcome matters to these kids.
No, it really does. In fact, Team USA last couple of days, they were shown by the coaching staff clips from previous games and how the momentum can swing, and also to make sure they always understand how good the talent level of the world team is.
Yeah, it's about star power, but it's more about winning and representing your country.
Look at this, 2-on-1.
With Schroder and Jean-Charles continues to get to the rim, but couldn't lay it in, and a foul. And Schroder out of Germany, Jean-Charles out of France. Both guys the NBA has eyes on.
You could see the youth of our team on that possession. As soon as the turnover happened, they all dropped their heads, shrugged their shoulders, and nobody got back. And that's a sign, Fran, as you know, of immaturity. And when you get to the college level, you can't worry about that turnover. You got to sprint
exactly.
Fast.
And if you're Roy Randle right now, you're talking about, hey, let's jump on these guys and let's get that lead back to double digits, which they're in the process of doing.
Jean-Charles now with 12 to lead all scorers. Here's Demetrius Jackson, headed to Notre Dame next year, back into the game for the U.S.
Interesting, you know, it's a young man that grew up about 13 miles from the Notre Dame campus and grew up kind of being an Irish fan. Marion High School is a Catholic school right there in South Bend. Walker.
Yeah, he can be a tempo change.
Yeah.
Demetrius Jackson for this game. Athletic, strong. It came down to Notre Dame and Illinois. Stayed home.
Gordon through contact to finish, and a chance for a three-point play for the Arizona commit.
I think the interesting thing about Aaron Gordon next year, and on a front line, Paul, that's going to be very deep. I think he's a 4-man right now. I bet the young man thinks he's a 3, and of course, if he wants to play in the NBA, that's probably the best position. But in my mind, as much as I love him, right now he's got to be. He's a little bit of an in-betweener.
I think he understands that from an offensive standpoint. He is a 4, but defensively, Fran,
yes.
I think he can cover 3s.
I like that. Yeah.
Cover 5s. Just got to work on his shot.
Jayate with a second effort scores. Jayate, full name Mohamedou Jayate, out of France.
Well, his friends call him Mom.
And we'll go with that.
He's having a good year. He's in French Pro B, which is the 2nd division. Competition not as steep as Pro A.
Schroder with a contested shot, falls right to Jean-Charles. Jayate with a chance that wouldn't go. And Schroder tracking it down in the corner. Fresh shot clock for the World.
How quick is he to the basketball, Schroder?
And how about the 6'8" wingspan? He just reached out like a Venus flytrap right there.
Here's Wiggins for 3. Jean-Charles with the offensive rebound. And he'll shoot 2 free throws.
You know, it's so funny, this game. We talk about all the NBA guys, and I think Jean-Charles a nice prospect. I don't think he's ready to be drafted, but this game has produced guys like Sierre Sene, who went in the lottery or at least a mid-first round with Seattle. Bismack Biyombo. These are guys I watched overseas that I thought were, you know, to be honest, a little bit overrated. But when you play well against our best high school guys in front of NBA guys, you know, it's like beauty's in the eyes of the beholder.
And the scouts walk away saying if they're doing it against our future NBA draft picks that we have slotted in the mid-round to late round, then maybe we should look at this guy. And that's exactly right. That's how you make a team.
Yeah. The only problem is a lot of our high school guys are not ready to be NBA guys either. You know what I mean? And they may be a couple of them down the road. But this is what the NBA looks at. You're watching a Karasev or a Schroder, seeing how they match up with guys their age, even though they're playing at a high level.
When you talk to Chad Ford today, he said there's about 6, 7,
8 or 9. He said 8
or 9
lottery picks in 2014 on this floor.
Yep.
Gordon just picked up his 3rd guy, so he goes out. Randle Hollis-Jefferson back in.
I'm going to go pick and roll right here. Let's see what Schroder does.
They switch it.
Yep.
And with a mismatch against Randle, turned it over. That's typically one of the issues for Schroder. First time we've seen that rear its head today.
No! Oh, nice block.
Jean-Charles right in the middle of it again. Karasev in transition, left it short, but Jean-Charles with a follow, and the World squad is up by 12.
You like Jean-Charles' energy today. Playing with a smile on his face.
You don't have to run anything for him. You know,
No.
he goes and gets the basketball off the rim.
Yep.
He'll run the floor, get the layup. You know, he's just real consistent.
Randle. Jean-Charles working against Hollis-Jefferson. And now Sergei Karasev. Bounce through his legs. Some fancy passing, and then 3 seconds is called. And first practice for this World squad earlier this week, Roy Randle ran a drill where they weren't allowed to dribble. And it was all passes up and down the floor.
You see the ball movement right here. Unfortunately, the 3 other teammates thought the shot was going to go up, so it was an easy 3-second call.
It was give, go, and give and go. Nobody went.
Andrew Harrison led the U.S. squad with 11 during that first half.
It's first side offense, France. You come down the floor, you jack it up early in the shot clock. That's not how you get back into a game.
Well, the final day of the X Games starts Sunday morning with medal round coverage of women's skateboard street, the Ford Rallycross, men's skateboard park, and the Moto X Freestyle. X Games from Brazil, 6 hours of coverage Sunday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. Nearly a turnover off of the inbounds play. Now numbers for the U.S. and Randle Hollis-Jefferson with a reverse that wouldn't go. Randle there to tip it in.
Julius Randle, 4 offensive rebounds already. Again, he can dominate that area of the glass. You know, Fran, he's an east and west rebounder. He doesn't have to go straight up and down. He can go outside of his area to get the ball.
I'd actually like to see him start to dominate this game with them being down 12. $58 points in the first 2.5 quarters, a lot of points for the world. So USA's got to tighten it up a little bit. It's like we said earlier, Paul, they haven't had enough practice time really to be cohesive, but they've all played with and against each other, I would think, so much that it's just like going into the Y with a few guys that know how to play. You know, you gotta play together, and especially on the defensive end when you haven't had a lot of practice time.
Schroder with the unselfish play. Giante couldn't finish, and Jabari Parker out with it. Randle.
Oh boy, that's Julius right there.
And that was facilitated by a 6'8" Jabari Parker. In the middle of the floor, he's showing you his advanced skill to rebound the ball, push it in transition.
Yeah, that's a great little fundamental bounce pass right there, and then Julius Randle. I saw him do that a couple of years ago in a game at LeBron Skill Academy against LeBron. LeBron got out of the way.
Yeah, you don't want to stand in front of Julius Randle.
The top power forward in the country, the number 3 player overall, and 4 of the top 5 power forwards on this U.S. roster.
When you look at that list, you see versatility, athletic ability, and skill all going to the college game next year. These are guys that play the 4 spot, can make jump shots, rebound inside, play with their back to the basket as well, Fran. And you made the point earlier. Don't try to be something you're not. Don't stand out and dance with the ball on the 3-point line. Do your damage in the paint.
Yeah, play to your strengths. That's what your college coaches are going to want to see.
Andrew Harrison.
That's another late whistle that Harrison is the beneficiary of, but he does get himself deep in the paint.
And he hangs up there a little bit. He has a little bit of hang time. And what he's doing when he's in the lane, can I get my shot off, or can I find my teammate for a little lob or a dump down?
How will he be when his brother's not on the floor? Of course, we haven't seen him on the floor, I think, tonight. And Corey Alexander, the assistant coach of Team USA, the former Virginia Cavaliers star, told us they were going to split him up. But how effective will he be at Kentucky, Paul, getting his teammates involved, besides his brother?
Well, that's going to be the question that John Calipari has to work with right away to make sure that he just doesn't play with Aaron, and when Aaron's not in the game, to involve his teammates and still be aggressive, Fran, trying to get to the basket. I think when you get to the college level, you know, those things get coached out of you.
Yeah.
And Schroder got about 7 steps, but no travel, and then a foul.
Now they switched off, and Jefferson again tried to stay in front of him.
Jackson got called for his second. And Schroder heads to the line. Plays in Germany's top professional league, was named the most improved player in that league this year. And again, just 19 years old, with his NBA stock skyrocketing this week.
Yeah, what's really helped him this season in the BBL, the top league, as you mentioned, is he's really improved his outside shooting and also his maturity and playmaking. Now, we see him get out of control some, but not unlike any other college or high school guy that plays here in the States. So
when I watched him on film, I love the way he changes his speed going to the basket. You know, he's not just a one-speed guy. He can shift it up to get by you as well.
Parker's so smooth with that jump shot.
That's a step back that fundamentally, that's as good a step back move as you'll be able to teach or utilize.
Dante Exum. That's a long 2.
Talking about Jabari Parker going to Duke next year, he's going to really space the floor for Coach K. Gives them size, shooting, and rebounding.
Randle lost it on the drive. Into the hands of Andrew Harrison with the shot clock winding down. Hollis-Jefferson with the left hand.
Pretty move. Jefferson knew he couldn't score on the right side of the rim. So he took a little dribble to get to the left side. A smart, crafty, back to the basket player.
Exum way short on that one. Last touch by Towns, and the U.S. takes it. Inside of 5 minutes in this third quarter. The world's lead is down to 7. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, one of a pair of McDonald's All-Americans, headed to play for Sean Miller at Arizona next season. Back on the Nike Hoops Summit here in Portland, Oregon. The U.S. has cut the world's lead down to 7 midway through this third quarter. And our Fran Fraschilla now stands by with Aaron Gordon.
Thanks, Joe. Aaron, you've been a part of Team USA since you were 15, a developmental training camp. Why has it been so important to you to represent that USA on the jersey?
Well, it goes both ways. USA helps my basketball game out a lot, and I know I look good for the program. It's one of the programs that I can kind of just completely forget about statistics and just look forward to helping my team win.
You're down here in the third quarter. What's Coach Jones talked about in terms of getting back in this game?
I mean, just playing hard. Just it all starts with belief, and that's what we're doing. We're playing with energy, and we're getting our team going.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, Fran, number 4 prospect in the senior class headed to Arizona. And with the front court at Arizona with Ferrum, Hill, Lyons all leaving, Gordon going to find himself in an important role right away.
In the front court, yes, absolutely. Be able to rebound. You know, Aaron Gordon mentioned the word energy. You know, he brings energy, he gives energy to his team, and his teammates feed off that energy all game long. And it's not just a game, Joe. He does it in practice. He does it in workouts. He gets to the gym early, stays late. There's a reason why he's so good. He invests a lot of time into his game.
Julius Randle with a reverse.
That's explosion and power. He has that quick spin move to the baseline.
Now Demetrius Jackson out of the crowd with it. Jackson for Hollis-Jefferson, who's into double figures. And USA's within 3.
Because they're pushing the pace, but first they're playing defense. Any turnovers, they're pushing it to points. Randle, an exceptional finisher. His best game is all in the paint.
I love the way they've utilized that full court pressure as well and trying to speed this game up a little bit. And Mike Bray told me that this guy, Demetrius Jackson, one of the more athletic guys he's ever recruited to Notre Dame. You think of Jerry and Grant next year, Eric Atkins, a senior.
Yeah, he's got to compete for playing time with Eric Atkins. No
that's a solid backcourt, yeah.
5th McDonald's All-American for Mike Bray. First one since Luke Zeller, 2005. Older brother, of course, of Cody Zeller. Wiggins, a 3, was left alone and then left it short. Embiid with a battle for the rebound and a foul.
We haven't talked much about this young man, Joel Embiid, but he is going to be an outstanding player in time. But take a look at this, Paul. You and I have been watching this a long time.
Sizes up the defense. Nobody home on the baseline for the world team. And it's one dribble, one quick step, explodes right to the rim.
We had a play last year, Joe, at the Nike Skills Academy, the LeBron Skills Academy in Vegas. It was the final game of the week, and it was Julius Randle's last game. He chased down a ball 94 feet, an inbounds pass, and he didn't have to play that hard, but he chased it down, saved it to a teammate. They wound up scoring, and I've watched him for so long, Paul. The thing I like about him is he's got a high motor.
He could be the X factor for Kentucky. Everybody talks about Kentucky, preseason top 5, Final 4. I believe he's the X factor because there's nobody else like him on the team. A little bit of Terrence Jones, left-handed, explosive, powerful, and can score the ball when he stays inside the arc.
And you forget that he had a foot injury not too long ago. He missed 3 months of his high school season. And came back and was co-MVP of the Jordan Brand Classic a couple weeks ago with 19 points and 7 rebounds and another loud performance and another big stage.
It almost looks like a zone.
Yeah, they're sitting in the zone. They got to know time and score, shot clock.
Andrew Harrison with the shot clock winding down, cuts it to 2.
There's that pressure again.
But that's the ability of Andrew Harrison. When the play breaks down, he can make an open jump shot.
Dimshaw got fouled shooting the 3. Harrison came back in a bad foul. Second time the U.S. has done that today.
Fran, you love the closeout, but here's the shot clock winding down. Andrew Harrison, his defender, backs up. So what does he do? He pulls up. And he can do that from 3-point range. On the defensive end, you love the hustle, the closeout. His momentum carried him right into the shooter.
Yeah, and they've got to take advantage of the fact that Schroder's not in the game right now. So they're really pressuring Ivanovic, Dimshaw a little bit, Exum. Good strategy by Mike Jones. Mike Jones, 17-4 as the assistant coach of Team USA. First opportunity to be his own man.
He's got some guys with some foul trouble now. Gordon, Andrew Harrison, Hill, and Hollis-Jefferson all with 3.
This young man played last summer, Paul, at the Nike Global Challenge in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia. So when there's a terrific Croatian, Mario Hazonia, who was on this roster, he's now playing in Spain, and his team needs him right now. So he stayed behind. So Dimsher was added late, and in part because of the success he had last summer in Northern Virginia. There's that 2-3 zone.
Again, another opportunity when you play out on the circuit.
Yep.
You get seen, and then people invite you to the next basketball event, and that's how your game grows. And that's how your ranking changes.
Jackson threw it up with that 24-second shot clock collapsing. An empty possession for the United States.
You see Hollis-Jefferson on Wiggins. That's why he was invited to this game, to defend Andrew Wiggins in crunch time.
How many times have they played against each other, you think, the last 3 years?
Aaron Harrison into traffic, but into the hands of Noah Vonleh. Make that Bobby Portis, who's headed to Arkansas next year.
Yeah, I really like Bobby Portis. Active, alert, and he's always moving. And he tries to fit in offensively. You see the offensive rebound, second chance point, using his athletic ability for near the rim.
I've been impressed with him this week.
Well, the first round of the NBA playoffs continues Sunday as Dwight Howard leads the Lakers on the road against Tony Parker and the Spurs. LA against San Antonio, with coverage tipping off with Kia NBA Countdown at 3 Sunday on ABC. Lakers go 5-0 down the stretch to get the 7 seed. No Kobe Bryant, but no team playing better right now. Los Angeles Lakers.
You mentioned all those alumni in that game. Ron Artest, now Meta World Peace, he played in that game, as well as we mentioned before, Tony Parker. You have a couple other Lakers?
Yeah, there's 4 guys total that have played in this Nike Hoop Summit game, for the 140 that have gotten drafted out of this event.
USA has done a nice job getting that lead down to 1 possession. Now, if they can get a stop, they can tie this thing up with a 3.
Here's Wiggins.
You saw that coming, friend.
I saw that baseline. I saw nobody rotating over is what I saw.
We talk about his NBA athletic ability. You see why. He covers a lot of ground with one
Look
dribble.
out again. This time smoothly lays it in, and the World has expanded the lead back to 7. Now Casey Hill forces one up. John Charles out with it. Has Ivanovic on the wing for 3. Now Vonleh back the other way for the U.S.
Good hustle
And
by
Ivanovic saves it to John Charles.
They have 3 quick baskets, and Mike Jones is going to want to take a timeout.
He wants a fast pace, but he doesn't want a sloppy game.
Yeah. And remember the rule now, guys. You can only call a timeout. Only the coach can call it. And only when the ball is dead, when that ball goes through the basket before the opposing team touches it, the ball is considered dead. Mike Jones up off the bench right away.
9-4 run for the World. U.S. had cut it to 2. It's back to 9 as the World tries to win back-to-back Nike Hoop Summits.
A lot of people have questions about Andrew Wiggins. Does he play hard? Is he selfish? Is he unselfish? He defers to his teammates at times. He facilitates to them. He wants to be part of the group. But at crunch time, he knows he has to take over. So when you see the basketball in his hands in the second half, he's going to try to get to the rack.
Yeah, the thing I like about it is he looks like he's not playing hard, but because it almost comes effortlessly to him. And I saw him last year in the Nike EYBL in Dallas, and I was blown away with his athleticism. And there you see some of the best players in the country, and Kentucky obviously dotting that top 10.
And a guy at number 10, Jarrell Martin, headed to LSU.
8 of those 10 guys in this game. Here's a couple of them.
How about Wiggins? Then another one, Olivier Saint-Jean, part of that spurt by the World team.
And now with a 9-point lead. Wiggins, the only undeclared player in the ESPN 100. And he'll start this segment on the bench for the World squad.
You think, Joe, about what's gone on in recent years? I mentioned those 90 guys from Canada that are in the NCAA. How about Anthony Bennett this year? Kevin Pangos, Kelly Olynyk, Mike Kabongo. How about the kid at Boston College, Olivier Hamlin, who dropped 40 in the ACC
One of the
tournament?
best freshmen in the ACC, come out of New Hampton Prep.
Yeah, Laurent Rivard, who hit those big shots for Harvard in the win over New Mexico.
Parker off the front of the rim. Roy Randle coaching this world squad has been such a big part of that Canadian rise in basketball. He's coached 45 kids that have played Division I NCAA hoops.
Talking to Coach Randle before the game, I said, "You going to play some zone?" He says, "Only as much as I can." Every dead ball coming out of timeouts. Anytime the world team can get back, he wants to play zone. He believes the U.S. team doesn't shoot it that well from Fran, the international line.
Yeah, and they haven't had a chance to really prepare as much as they'd like because they all got in here late. A lot of these guys have played the last couple of weekends. Not that that's an excuse, because the USA has that 11-4 lead through the years.
But it's hard to play zone offense. Even good college teams don't have good
that's
offense
very
3 or 4 months down the road. But there are concepts against the zone to gap it, skip the ball, send cutters. And our team, the U.S. team, they have to understand that when they go against the zone.
Demetrius Jackson comes back in. Portis will sit down. So Vonleh. And Gordon joins Randle, Parker, and Hill on the floor for the U.S. right now. Here's Randle.
They just load to the ball, Fran.
Yeah, they did.
Randle gets it. Everybody's gone that side of the floor. They don't want him getting rim.
I don't think Julius Randle knew they were in his zone, but it really didn't matter.
Shot clock turned off. U.S. has battled back into this one. The world led by as many as 13. Dante Exum out of Australia. Using an Embiid screen to the baseline.
He made a similar move yesterday in the scrimmage. Went right to the rim. I love his first quick explosiveness. He's going to get a lot stronger, too.
Recognize the clock here. 3.2 seconds.
That's
to
what
go
they
into
had.
the quarter.
Well, they had a play they ran, and this right now is just get it to Saint-Charles.
He's been their best player in this game, but unable to score. And this third quarter comes to a close with the world in front by 8.
The USA with a comeback with a series of dunks. First, it's Julius Randle on the baseline. Then you see Wiggins in transition.
Our production team here in Portland, Oregon, as we move to the fourth quarter with the 16th Nike Hoop Summit. The world has been in charge most of the way. 8-point lead as we start the fourth.
And you see Dennis Schroder back now for the world, who's given Team USA's guard some problems today. So Roy Randle's team weathered the storm at the end of the third quarter with him on the bench.
Interesting matchup. He has Demetrius Jackson on him. He's going to Notre Dame, a very athletic, strong guard. So two strong athletic guards going head-to-head.
Karasev fading away and hitting a three. A lot of people think he's going to be a first-rounder. You see part of the reason why.
He's the only guy in this game that has been in the London Olympics. He was with the Russian team, coached by David Blatt, former Princeton point guard out of Boston.
Coming in. He was too open.
Yeah.
Coming into this week, NBA scouts were thinking late first round. Fran, did he play himself into the mid-teens this week in practice?
I think he's a guy that would go 17 to 30. Really, he's having a very good start to his career in Russia.
Early on in this fourth quarter, the world with an 11-point lead over the U.S. Andrew Harrison leading the way with 15. Julius Randle in double figures as well. John Charles, out of France, with 17 to lead all scorers in this game.
See, I thought right there Randle needed to just power that one up. Paul, he caught it in there with a low shot clock. Just take it to the rim.
And to his defense, he hasn't played with a shot clock very much in his career. And that's why our high school game needs a universal shot clock with a universal time.
Don't disagree there.
Our players would be so much more skilled and be able to think the game.
John Charles meeting Aaron Gordon at the rim, but he's called for the foul. John Charles, 19 points and some solid defense, too, but he gets whistled here.
How about this? That's verticality there, bro.
Love the jump stop by Demetrius Jackson.
I mean, that's verticality. That's a great block.
That's science at the rim.
They called the foul on Karasev. It's his first. Aaron Gordon, the number 4 player in the ESPN 100, headed to Arizona next year. With an 0-2, and the U.S. down 13. This match is the largest lead of the game for the world squad.
Look at that ball movement. Oh, my goodness. Look at that ball movement.
And it's Exum, the beneficiary.
And, Fran, the passes are quick. They don't hold the basketball in their hands, the world team. As soon as they see the open man, they get rid of it.
Randle will shoot 2, and again, this is a team that's been together for 1 week, sharing the ball like that.
But if you talk to the world team coaching staff, they have had great chemistry this week. And take a look right there. That's textbook. You got big guys handle it, little guys finishing. Pretty good.
Carl Towns just got called for his 4th, Paul.
The guys are playing with their head up and eyes up, looking for each other. And sometimes in our game, our guys get the ball, they put their head down, and it's dribbling. To keep your head up, you can make passes.
I've enjoyed my experience coaching international players, both at the college level and over in Europe at the Euro camp. And these kids have a good feel for the game at an early age. They don't often have our athleticism. Sometimes they do. Those are the guys that turn out to be the Nicholas Batums, the Serge Ibakas, but have a good understanding of the game, and they've adjusted well this week to each other. You can tell.
Randle free throw, snaps a 7 run to begin the quarter.
Another good pass.
John Charles leading all scores with 21.
Good touch pass by Karasev. His dad was a terrific point guard for the Russian national team. Now is his coach. And, triumph.
Demetrius Jackson got the defender off his feet and will shoot 2 free throws. Notre Dame commit, number 21 player in the ESPN 100.
He's in a good spot next year because he'll get minutes, as you mentioned, but he's also going to get to learn from Eric Atkins, and Jerry Grant is a guy I love. I think he's really coming into his own. So he'll get playing time, but he'll also get a chance to watch how it's done with some of those veteran guards they have.
I really like Pat Connaughton, young man from Massachusetts,
good
6'5".
Fastball. Good fastball, too.
He can play baseball, too, but he's got a 3-point shot. He spaces the floor. And Mike Bray had a senior team this year. Next year, it's a little bit of a rebuilding process. They also have a young man by the name of V.J. Beecham coming in out of Indiana, 6'6" athlete. Will help this Notre Dame team next year.
John Charles with numbers for the world, and how about a number of 23 points for the France big man?
He's not a great athlete. In my rankings, I don't have him in the first round this year, but he's been a good garbage man today, good finisher.
He knows his role.
Julius is going to go right and spin back to the left.
And that he did, left it short to 22-4 world run. Karasev with a bullet of a pass.
Coming at us.
And Wiggins' pass deflected out of bounds. 7:10 left in a 16-point game. What's got to change for the U.S. to have a shot down the stretch?
Well, they're not able to slow down this attack. A good ball movement by the world, and they haven't gotten enough stops, as evidenced by giving up 85 points in 33 minutes. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's been the difference. No stops when they needed to. They got themselves back in the game a couple of times with their defense and transition offense.
A little bit of a delay game here.
Karasev can't hit the 3. Demetrius Jackson, smallest player on the floor right now, in for the rebound.
And so often in these games, Fran, defensive transition, you get killed on.
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson continuing to impress.
He plays hard no matter what. He doesn't need a play run for him. He just needs to be in the game. His passion energizes his talent.
Another play right there. Good hustle, but threw it to the wrong man.
Wiggins able to finish. Wiggins now with 15.
Oh, that's not happening. Not a good decision by Casey Hill right there. I think right now Team USA is in a panic mode. If you can tell, they're trying to hit doubles and triples instead of singles, and Mike Jones not very happy.
And that's the growth in Casey Hill. The ability to get in the lane, yes, but his decision making right at the rim needs to improve. You know, he wants the home run, like you said. He wants to get it all on one play, one possession. Sometimes Casey Hill has to just bring the ball back out and reset the offense.
And if he doesn't learn that, he's going to sit behind a very good point guard next year in Scotty Wilbekin. I think they'll play together some, but I think Scotty Wilbekin was the underrated guy on that Billy Donovan team this year. Jefferson's been a nuisance to Wiggins a little bit.
Joel Embiid with a spin move against Gordon. How about that move from a kid that's played a little more than a year of organized basketball?
And when I saw him last year, he only played a little bit for Mount Verde. Then he transferred to the school called The Rock in Florida. Led them to an independent state championship.
Same school as the aforementioned Scotty Wilbekin played at.
High off the glass from Parker. Embiid grew up in Cameroon playing soccer and volleyball. Played basketball for the first time when he was 16.
Did you see that pass he just threw?
Nobody has improved more in the class of 213 than Joel Embiid.
Look at that effort.
Then he was fouled by Hill.
He's going to be so good in that Bill Self high-low offense. You know, I give him till about mid-January to really have a good effect on that young KU team next year with that really solid recruiting class. But if he's around for his sophomore year, and he should be, he will be a very, very good player at Kansas.
I think he's going to make a splash as a freshman.
Yeah.
Could he get drafted? Well, everybody can who's 7 feet tall with some skill, and he's improving.
Yeah.
But I think if he stays that second year, he can dominate at Kansas and then lock himself into a top 5 draft.
Yeah, he's got a chance to be really, really good.
One of the first guys that recognized his talent was fellow Cameroonian Luke Mbamute, now with the Bucks.
And it's a good time to drop in basketball without borders, too.
Yeah.
The NBA has done a great job overseas.
Casey Hill for 3.
You know, he's really improved his jump shot. He went 2 for 3 from the three-point line at the Jordan Brand Classic. Not known as a shooter. You know, his jump shot is like the morning sun. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't.
Wiggins couldn't squeeze it, then had it tipped away, and here comes Jabari Parker.
But I think he's really worked on it, Casey Hill, and it shows.
Harrison will shoot 2. As the U.S. tries to claw back. Trailed by 18 just a moment ago before that 3, the largest lead for the world in this game as we work inside of 5 minutes.
Yeah, I like this guy, Jabari Parker. We've been watching him for 4 years. Simple game, gets it done, fundamentally sound.
Well, the world just a moment ago had an 18-point lead. It was its largest of the game. It's still 15 with inside of 5 minutes. The U.S. trying to battle back in an event they're 11-4 in its 15-year history. With Fran Fraschilla and Paul Biancardi, I'm Joe Davis. Welcome back here to Portland. Jabari Parker with a nice little flurry here. What is it that makes him as good as he is, Paul?
He demonstrates the ability to score the ball in different spots of the floor. You know, he has a three-point game, a middle game, and a paint game. This kid is a competitive player. He's been taught and he's used the fundamentals, Fran, at an early age. And he doesn't take anything for granted on the court. And when his team walks off the court, it usually wins. That's what makes him special.
Yeah, I love the fact that his dad was a tremendous player, an NBA first-round pick, great family, great character kid. You mentioned those 4 straight state championships. Not easy to do in the state of Illinois. And remember, he also, as we've talked about a number of times today, a lot of international experience wearing that USA jersey. And I think we'll see him in the future as he goes on into college and then the NBA.
And at Duke, you know, he can play the small forward, the power forward. You put him in a pick and pop. He can have the ball or he can set the screen, play a high-low game. I mean, Coach K can move him around and he'll be productive.
You talk about all the skills on the floor, and then you've got Rob Smith, his head coach, who told us earlier this year, Paul, that even with all that, you got rid of what he did on the floor, people would still really love him because of how good of a kid he is.
He's a great kid. You know what he is? Jabari Parker is a great teammate. And, Fran, we don't talk about that enough when we talk about the players. We talk about their skills and athletic ability. Jabari Parker is a great teammate. Guys want to be on his team.
And let's be honest now. The biggest challenge John Calipari is going to have at Kentucky next year is not the fact that he's got this great talent. It's going to be getting them to play together. Likely he will, because he's done it before.
Yeah, he's a master at fostering chemistry, but he's got to teach cohesiveness. He has to make sure his Kentucky Wildcats like each other.
Demetrius Jackson on the run out, lays it in. U.S. has it back to a dozen, and a timeout taken by Roy Randle.
Well, here's that quickness. We talked about Demetrius Jackson, young man, as we mentioned, from northern Indiana, right in the shadows of the Golden Dome. Mentioned John Gross in Illinois, almost stole him, almost got him to Champaign, broke their hearts.
As soon as Gross got the job, baby, he knew where he was going. Former assistant at Ohio State, he had the recruiting landscape mapped out.
One that could not get away from Mike Bray in that Irish program.
Now, Mike Bray doesn't press a lot, but for Demetrius Jackson, he put on the full court press. You know, he played a fast-paced game to get him.
Right now this is the time where Mike Jones, this next minute or so is going to determine the outcome of this game, obviously. But the one thing about the World we've seen is they move the ball well. They haven't really been rattled very much by any kind of full court pressure.
They led by 18 just a couple of minutes ago. The U.S. has it down to 12 with 4:10 left to go. The U.S. has never lost back-to-back Nike Hoop Summits. They lost by 9 to the World Squad, also led by Andrew Wiggins last year. This year in a game with, as Chad Ford, ESPN's NBA insider, says 8 or 9 2014 lottery picks on the floor.
Chad talks to every team in the league every day, gives you a really good pulse of who's going where. We'll be together at the NBA Combine in Chicago and start breaking down the draft. And Chad's sources, if you will, very, very good around the league.
And he's dialed into the NBA game, the NBA draft.
He really is.
He's
fun
great
to
at
talk to.
projection of where these guys are going to go and if they're going to go. And he gets the scoop for us at ESPN.
He does, because teams trust him, and he does talk to, he talks to guys that are going to make the decisions. Here's that full court pressure again, guys.
And again with a 24-second shot clock, an added advantage for a team trying to come from behind. Down 12 with 4+.
And Joe, to your point, can you imagine if we weren't playing with a shot clock right now and the world team was up double figures with 4 minutes to go? Yeah. There would be no interest in this game. It wouldn't be exciting. A shot clock has to come to the high school game.
Andrew Harrison gets fouled. Now going to be important for the U.S. to make some free throws down the stretch, just about 60% on the night.
With the opportunity to go in the foul line, Fran, you stop the clock, you make your free throws, you set up your pressure. What the USA team doesn't want to do now is just turn around and commit foolish fouls.
Exactly.
D up for 24 seconds, see if you can get an old-fashioned stop.
That was the point you made earlier about the Harrisons. They know how to invite contact on the drive. Andrew Harrison went right at Andrew Wiggins.
Well, guys, Major League Baseball coverage continues on ESPN. For Sunday, 8 o'clock, Carlos Beltran leading the Cardinals in to face the Phillies. And then on Monday, it's the AL East showdown with the Rays and the Yankees. Both games also live on Watch ESPN. A loose ball foul goes on the United States squad. Demetrius Jackson called for his third. And a substitution for Mike Jones. Or he tried to, but now send Aaron Gordon back to the sideline.
Casey Hill almost got that steal. He did a really good job of staying in front of Schroder. Now Jackson's going to pick him up. See if they double here.
They tried to, but Schroder just too quick, spins away. Livio John Shaw leading all scorers with 23. Nearly turned it over with the shot clock winding down.
Well, switch out. Let's see if he goes by him.
He does, but into a crowd. And a foul, he'll shoot two.
And Julius Randle picked up Schroder on the switch, but his stance, if you take a look at it again, was wide open. Allows penetration by the guards. Julius Randle is a tremendous power forward. If he wants to play at the 3 spot, he's going to have to cover guys that are quicker and smaller than him. And we just saw that's going to be a headache.
Well, that was a great, that was basketball IQ right there by Schroder, because he saw the mismatch. He waited, hesitated, and then turned on the afterburners, and really, it'd be hard for anybody that size, Julius Randle size, stay in front of this guy.
And Julius Randle, I mean, he can move his feet. He's got lateral quickness, strength, but he just can't stay in front of Schroder because he's so much quicker.
1 of 2 for the German point guard. An 11-point game with 3.5 left.
Friend, they're going to sit in that zone the rest of the game.
And it forces a turnover here. Here's Dante Exum getting fouled. And the foul.
What did we say?
You said it. Shades of Michael Jordan back in high school.
Little baby Michael right here. Take a look now. Good job by Towns, walling it off, and then watch. This is good job by Exum. Look at the follow through. And you know what's good about that? You're going to make this shot on the foul 1 out of 15, 20 times, but he got the ball up on the rim. Good IQ right there.
I love the extension. As soon as he felt the pressure, he was trying to release the basketball, as you mentioned, friend. That's the IQ of a scorer.
Just like that, it's back to a 14-point game with a little more than 3 minutes. And once again, Andrew Harrison inviting the contact.
A lot of the schools that are recruiting Dante Exum have ties to Australia. LSU, Boise State particularly, have coaches on their staff that are from down under. Larry Brown, the coach at SMU, of course, at Carolina, great. So he's got that connection to Cecil Exum, Dante's dad.
When I talked to him the other day, he said some schools are recruiting me as a point guard, some as a combo guard, others as a small forward. Friend, I think he's just a player. I don't think you box him into a position because he's so talented offensively.
You look at his body, and his best basketball is about 5 or 6 years down the road. And the other Aussie, Ben Simmons, how about him?
Oh.
You know, it's another one of those guys you guys have covered during the year.
6'8", bouncy with skills, Joe. You loved him when we had him at the NHSI, plays for Kevin Boyle, Mount Verde Academy.
How good is he going to be?
He was the most explosive player on the floor in his first game of the season for Mount Verde at NHSI. There's a back-breaking 3 from Exum as the world hits the century mark.
And that's really not his game, Exum. To make jumpers, he's best at getting to the rim.
16 for him. Livio John Charles showing off some nice handles in transition, but Hill there to steal it.
A little too much show off, I think.
Now it's Exum with a rejection. And Hollis-Jefferson through contact was fouled.
You asked about Ben Simmons, top 5 sophomore in the class, Fran. He's only played for about a month, but it's easy to see that he's elite in that sophomore class at 16 years old, at 6'8", with a 3-point shot and great instincts.
That's another guy like Exum, whose dad was an American, David Simmons, went to Australia and played over there. How about Kyrie Irving? He could actually play for Australia. I think he's going to end up playing for Team USA. He was so good last summer in Vegas when he got a chance to play on that USA select team of NBA players that scrimmaged the Olympic team. But Kyrie, you know, Dredrick Irving was, you know.
I coached him when I was an assistant at Boston University. I was going to show my age right there. I had a chance to coach Kyrie Irving's dad, Dredrick Irving.
Yep.
He had a few inches on Kyrie, but that's about it. After that, it stops.
Yep. No, they're going to try to press here, but this has been a team right now. You've got some good ball handlers on the floor, and Schroder, Karasev, Wiggins knows what to do with the ball when he gets it.
And I've been impressed with USA in terms of making comebacks in this game.
Yeah.
But more impressive with the world team of answering those comebacks with their own little spurts.
Well, I've said this before. Now, you know, Exum and Wiggins, Towns are high school guys, but Karasev and Schroder, they play against men every night. Play against former NBA players, really good European players. And they've showed it today. Livio Jean as well.
Karasev doesn't impress you physically as 19 years old, but his mind and his skills are off the charts.
I don't think he's played particularly well today. You know, I think I almost feel like he's gone through the motions a little bit.
Does a poor showing on Saturday negate what he's done during the week?
Not necessarily. People know his age. They know what he's doing in Russia. And you know what? He may just want to come over here and have fun and fit in.
I'm thinking he wanted more.
Maybe. No,
Yeah.
you're right. He's, no question. But he has not played his best today.
Andrew Harrison lines one up. Jabari Parker, great length, and stuffs it down.
He's going to play to the final buzzer. Parker. He's going to try to figure out a way in these last 2 minutes to get his team back in the game.
Oh, good hands.
There he is, Paul. Look out.
That's what I'm talking about with Carousel. He's cool breezing it. Jabari Parker's playing with maximum intensity.
Jabari Parker's playing Chicago Public League style right now. He's getting after it.
So the U.S. not quitting, down 11 with 1:55 left to go in Portland.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Nike Hoop Summit is brought to you by Nike, engineered for world-class athletes.
189 right now. World is in front, trying to make it back-to-back wins for the first time at the Nike Hoop Summit. 84-75 winners last year, and the lowest scoring Nike Hoop Summit game of all time. Andrew Wiggins led the way for the World squad with 20, as Shabazz Muhammad scored an event record 35 in the loss for the U.S. United States refusing to go away, though, within a dozen here with 1:55 to go.
They're going to turn that press up again and see if they can come up with a couple steals. And it's been feast or famine for them in terms of the pressure.
And the lineup is small for USA. Randle, Hollis-Jefferson, and Aaron Gordon at the 4 and 5, playing with 3 guards. Nice move by Mike Jones here in the last 2 minutes to insert all the speed and quickness and best defensive team he has.
See if they come and double again.
Schroder just so quick. And they're going to call him for a carry. Pin the ball on his hip. And a turnover with 1:48. Randle back in. Parker back in. Some OD substitutions for Mike Jones.
Schroder's looking around like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
The pressure got to him a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Casey Hill just was riding his hip.
Staying in that little matchup zone.
It's Hill for 3. Right into the hands of Andrew Harrison. And then Parker there to follow. He's got 6 in a row, and it's down to single digits. And a timeout taken by Roy Randle for the World squad. 6 in a row for Parker. U.S. refusing to go away. Six straight points for Jabari Parker, and USA within 9 here with 1:38 to go. Parker now leading all scorers with 20.
The nation's #2 player has advanced skills. He can score the ball in the paint, at the three-point line, or at the mid-range. He also can do it with and without the dribble. Jabari Parker figures out a way how to put the ball in the basket, and he's more athletic than he looks.
4-time state champion at Simeon in Chicago. Headed to Duke next season. He starts this segment on the bench as Mike Jones has done that with putting his best defenders out there. And with OD substitutions trying to come from behind.
Now, it's a little rule, not a big deal, but under 2 minutes, ball goes through the basket, the clock stops.
And they're going to foul and try and extend this game with 1.5 minutes left. Dennis Schroder will go to the line.
Now, he shot 83% this year in the German league. From Braunschweig. How'd I do? Like
perfect. I don't know, but
it sounded good.
You say
can't correct you.
Terrific. Yeah, I know exactly.
Friend, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
This week in practice, the scouts liked him. In this game, did he help himself, stay the same, or hurt himself?
Well, I think he helped himself, but what I do think when I look at him is a guy that would be a terrific college guard right now. I think you put him in the top 5, 6 guys. I mean, I think he's right there as a first-round pick. Remember, you're looking at a 6'8" wingspan and great quickness.
Here's Julius Randle. Couldn't get it to go into the hands of John Charles. And a tie-up. Possession arrow gives it back to the United States with 1:25.
So Team USA's gotten a lot of opportunities to cut into this lead. I think Mike Jones wants another timeout.
He'll take one. Now 1 left. With the world in front by 11. The U.S. hasn't led this game since early on in the first quarter. They battled back to within 2 during the third, but the world is pulled away, and they've got a great performance from Livio John Charles, 23 points for him.
Well, this is a guy that's helped himself today. A young man that's, we mentioned, playing in the French League, playing for the team that is owned by Tony Parker, the San Antonio Spurs. 6'9", running the floor, finishing some garbage baskets, as we've talked about. He's handled the ball well. What we talked about earlier, Paul, he does what he does well. He finishes around the rim, not trying to show everybody that he can shoot threes or play outside the lane.
When I watch him play, I see a guy who enjoys to do the little things. You know, screen, run, and rebound. You know, it's so refreshing, Fran, to see a guy who's comfortable with who he is, whether it's a power forward, center, or point guard, and not try to be somebody he's not. That's how you become less productive versus more productive.
And that's how and conversely, that's how you help a team. When you do what you do well. If your team needs you to score, if you're a shooter like Kara said, you shoot the open three. Handle the ball, give it to Schroder. Livio Sanjal today been terrific around the basket.
23 points, 13 boards. You said Schroder probably helped this case. Livio John Charles was a guy that came in knowing that he declared at some point. Does today's performance convince him and the people around him that he's ready?
I don't know. What'll happen with these kids and their agents, because he is a professional, is his agents will talk to NBA teams to try to get a feel. And oftentimes a team that really likes a guy like him might say, leave him in. We got the 23rd pick. We'll take him. We'll promise we take him. So there's a lot of good back and forth the next 3 months. It's not just what you do today. It's the conversations your agent has with NBA teams.
Schroder off of the feed from Karasev. And again, the international players have a 10-day window at the end where they can pull out before that.
That's exactly right. Whereas the high school, particularly college guys, I should say, nice move by Randle. The college guys have got to the end of this month, I think it's the 28th, to make their intentions known for good as to whether they're going to stay in or not. And they're trying to find out right now where they stand in that NBA draft come June 27th.
Some people speculating that might be part of the reason Andrew Wiggins is waiting as long as he had, seeing what happens at the other schools as far as guys declaring and guys deciding to stay.
Yeah, I think he's waiting to see who he's going to play with to give himself the best chance to win. You know, Fran, he may not even just make a decision. He may just show up on a college campus in September, and you know why? He can.
Absolutely.
Everybody will be waiting with open arms if Andrew Wiggins decides to show up in September. He probably is not going to sign any letter of intent. Just simply show up.
He's just going to torture four coaches. That's all. He's going to torture 4 head coaches here the next few weeks. He's probably heard that question, right? Paul, you've been around him a lot this year. He's probably heard that question 10,000 times. Where are you going?
And then when are you going to make your decision? And that carries a lot of weight on a young man in terms, and he's fought through those questioning from the media in terms of getting through it on the court, not really letting it affect his play. But there's something that tells me that the weight of the world is on his shoulders, and it would be best for him when he's ready just to declare where he's going to go to school and put it behind him.
He's a quiet kid. He says he doesn't love all the attention that he gets. And you mentioned the weight of the world on the shoulders with the decision. We saw Paul earlier this year, Jabari Parker, not play very well. Granted, he was coming off an injury, but not play very well when he was still weighed down by that decision, and a different guy once he declared for Duke.
Because there's other things on your mind besides basketball. The recruiting, Fran, as you know, it can consume you as a coach, but as a recruit, it can really eat you up.
Well, because every coach is telling you you're going to be a great player for them, and it does fill your head up with a lot of things, and you have to be mature enough to cut through, you know, the great recruiting pitches and figure out, hey, where am I best suited the next year, 2 years, whatever it takes for a guy like Jabari Parker to reach his dream and play in the NBA, which he's going to do in time.
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, future Arizona Wildcat, makes 1 of 2. But a good day for him. Now 17 points. With the world inside of a minute from its first back-to-back wins in Nike Hoop Summit history. You know, Gordon gets called for the foul.
Sean Miller's going to lose Solomon Hill, a guy I really love as a guy that came not out of nowhere, Paul, because he was signed at USC, ended up at Arizona. But his versatility, I think, that's where Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is going to fit right in. He's just going to replace what Solomon Hill has done for Sean Miller the last 4 years, and maybe a better athlete.
And they also lose Grant Jarrett, the freshman, 6'10", who declared for the draft. A great outside shooter for a big guy. But we talk about Aaron Gordon, Randle, Hollis-Jefferson. Sean Miller's going to have a pair of versatile athletes who can really defend. These guys not just are athletically good defenders, they want to defend. They have the mindset to play defense first.
How will they fit in with Brandon Ashley and Caleb Turnowski?
I think they can play, you know, maybe at the 3 spot defensively. I think they'll be great at the 4. Heck, you can put them together at the 4 and 5 and play small, and you'll be good on the glass still. And Sean Miller's going to have a lot of options next year. He can play big or he can play small. We talked about the transfer, T.J. McConnell, Nick Johnson. And remember this name, Gabe York, young man out of California, can stroke it. Arizona, top 10 next year, I think, preseason.
I think so. There's no question. I love their talent, and Sean Miller's done a really good job in his time in Tucson. Here goes a long ball.
I think Hollis-Jefferson wasn't sure, should I foul him or let him go, but I know not to intentionally foul him.
Casey Hill with a floater. And Jabari Parker stuffs it down. He can do that with the international rules.
Absolutely. Ball's on the rim or above the cylinder. You can touch that ball, and good play by Jabari Parker.
Schroder lobbing for Embiid, but a foul on Hollis-Jefferson will be his 5th. There's 17 seconds remaining in this one.
The Kansas basketball staff, Fran, has to be excited when he shows up in June for individual workouts.
No, and again, because we both know he's raw, I think by mid-January, of course, they don't have a, you know, they've got Landon Lucas who redshirted, and Perry Ellis really came on this year at the end of the year, really finished strong. But he's going to get an opportunity to get on the court early because that's not their strength next year, size up front. That guard play with Selden and Connor Frankamp and Brandon Green will be pretty good.
This guy here was the surprise to the Jordan Brand Classic. You know, last year was Otto Porter.
Yeah.
People heard the name, but never really saw him play until the Jordan Brand Classic.
A couple years ago, right? 2 years ago.
Right. And the same thing with Embiid. You know, the name was out there. And then as soon as the scouts saw him in practice.
Yeah. Well, he's 7 feet, 6'11", whatever. He looks like he's 7 feet. And you watch the shooting touch isn't bad, right? Hit the left-hand jump hook earlier, Joe.
Good thing he signed already, too. I mean, if you're Bill Self, that's great evaluation and getting it done early.
There's Julius Randle. But a pretty good day for him. He's got 19 now. But the world is going to win for the 2nd year in a row. First time they've done that. As Casey Hill gets called for the foul here with 6 seconds.
Now this was, you talked to both coaching staffs this week. This game was very important. You know, we talked to the world staff and they would say, hey, how'd Team USA look? We talked to the USA staff and they said, hey, how'd the world team look? So they were very, very curious about what they were going to go up against, and it's been very competitive. I am not surprised that the world is winning because they've got some experience on the floor and also they had the week together. But it's been impressive.
The one stat that surprises me, though, is the world team has over 20 offensive rebounds. I thought the USA team might have done a better job on the defensive glass in terms of just blocking out, finding a guy, and not letting them get to the glass. But we're looking at guys 7 feet tall, Karl Towns, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Joel Embiid, 7'1".
Jaeta is 6'11".
John Chal.
Yep, 6'9", 6'10", whatever they...
And he's got 11 rebounds.
Yeah.
7 offensive.
Yeah, the world had 3 players 6'11" or taller. The U.S. didn't have any. And so for the first time, back-to-back wins in the Nike Hoop Summit for the world squad. X Games from Brazil is coming up next on ESPN2. 112-98 the final score. For Fran and Paul and the rest of our crew, my name's Joe saying good night from Portland.